Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Bailey and today's video is a little different than what I normally do. If you aren't subscribed to my podcast, it is in the description below. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so go check it out. So on my YouTube and on my podcast, I talk about self-development and spirituality and just exploration of the soul and self-discovery back to what we were meant to do on this earth and following our soul's journeys and our soul's path. And I really feel the pleasure to be able to express this feeling of just understanding that there is more for us to do on this earth than just the mundane. And I love being a source. Oh, I need lip gloss. I knew I was missing something. I love being a source for others to learn information and to just ingest this new age of realization that we are meant to do what we love to do and we don't have to do what we don't love to do. And if we feel that somebody isn't for us, or if we feel that our situation isn't for us, if the career we chose isn't for us, or if the school that we decided to go to wasn't for us, we have every ounce of opportunity to take that feeling and use it and utilize it to our best ability in a way we know how, whether that be through creativity or whether it be through starting a business or starting a foundation or starting a family, whatever the case is for you in your situation. Then I love that we're given that feeling for a reason. I started my journey. Oh, sorry. I have this mic and disregard if it looks inappropriate, okay? Just, we're trying out new things. I started my journey in 2020. I want to say 2019, but honestly, I didn't start a spiritual experience in 2019. I think I had a spiritual experience in 2020 because I was starting to do my yoga practice and I was reading books, and that's essentially what today's video is about, as you read the title, of course. I have a bunch of books here, and believe it or not, some books that I wanted to put on this list I don't have because I've given them away, or yeah, that's it. Because I'm one of those people that will give books that I have read away to people so that way I can transfer over the information. And so unfortunately, I don't have a couple of these books. I also listen to books on Audible. Not sponsored, I wish. But I do listen to books on Audible as well. So I will be putting books that I've listened to on Audible on the screen once I talk about them. Honestly, I just want to jump right into today's topic. We're going to be yapping. So I want to start in chronological order from what I remember. And from what I remember, I started out my first spiritual book ever, which I don't know if this is that known. Spirituality Sassy by Saw DeSimon. So this book I saw, I want to say in a Barnes & Noble or something. And I hadn't read any spiritual books ever. I hadn't even been a reader at all, quite frankly. But I remember picking out this book, and I just opened a page to some random page. And I was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is hitting, whatever. And I decided to take it. And after reading this book, I dived so deep into all of my spirituality in general. So essentially, this book is 8 radical steps to activate your innate superpowers. And he wrote questions, and it looks like I answered a lot of them, which is kind of crazy. So essentially, I don't know how exactly to do book reviews. I've never done one of these before, so I'm just gonna kind of read this description. Stop trying to put yourself in a box of what spirituality should look like, because honey, being yourself is spiritual. This is what Saw DeSimon shares in Spirituality Sassy, a guide for a generation that celebrates diversity, authenticity, and freedom both in life and in the spiritual path. With Spirituality Sassy, Saw distills the art of living well in our modern world into 8 radical yet totally attainable steps. By incorporating scientifically backed principles for modern psychology with time-tested Buddhist techniques and a heavy dose of sassy sauce, Saw will help you unblock your heart, befriend your mind, and live your truth out loud. Quote, "It is my mission in life to help you find your sass, whatever that means for you, so it can radiate out and touch everything you do." End quote. Spirituality Sassy isn't a quick fix, spiritual bypassing, or entitlement. It's a life-embracing path of awakening in modern times. Dive in and get spiritual and sassy. And I feel like this was a really good beginner book for my spiritual journey, because he kind of dove into things in a way that was like deep, but it wasn't so deep to the point where I could understand. I just want to read some things that I've underlined in here. Brain structure can change as we introduce new experiences, as we learn, and we adapt the changing world around us. Meditation, wow, look at the way I underlined. Like, what was I doing? Why is it so, like, weird? I don't know. Meditation, mental pauses, mantras, affirmations, observing the mind. These practices work out the mind and retrain it to support the real you. Your mind wants to help you. And I decided, I took this into consideration that, like, I was looking at my mind, and I still do sometimes. I'm not a healed being. As much as I want to be fully healed, there are honestly going to be, and this isn't me like manifesting this is just life. There are going to be things in this life that just happen to us, and it's not happening to us, it's happening for us, and it's for us to learn what to do with these situations and how to not react. And my mind is always like racing with random scenarios of the past and random people popping up in my mind. And literally while I'm meditating, I randomly think about something that I did last week or 3 years ago or something, and I'm like, and I overthink about it so intensely, and it's the weirdest thing ever. But at the end of the day, like, our mind isn't here to shrink us or to make us feel small or whatever, like, our mind is here to help us. And I learned a lot about how our mind isn't supposed to be the thing that holds us back, but it does. The most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. And I was learning a lot about just myself throughout reading this. Oh my gosh, I need to reread this. So if you know what a flow state is, it's essentially like, or if you don't know what a flow state is essentially a state of mind that you get into where you're like kind of out of your head and you're focusing on what you're doing. Like, I can get into a flow state when I edit or when I dance or when I sing, it's kind of like whenever you're finally detached from your thoughts, even if you do have thoughts that are kind of chaotic and all over the place, of being in a flow state, you're not being controlled or bothered by those thoughts. You're still kind of just in motion. It's like your body is in motion with your spirit, and what you're doing is just flowing out of you. It doesn't even feel like you anymore. It feels like a spirit, not a spirit. It feels like spirit, God, universe is flowing through you. So this is a list of how to tap into your flow state. The following are some natural ways for you to tap into your flow state. Turn your passion into your purpose. Participate in high performance sports. Meditate, do yoga, take social risks. Some are going out on a limb and meeting new people. Be generous and help others. And I think this is a useful list because, for one, turn your passion to your purpose. If you're passionate about, for me, I'm passionate about music. I decided to make it my purpose. Instead of me just being passionate about it, but putting it on the back burner and doing other things that have less risk or whatever, I decided to make it my passion and my purpose. Make my passion and my purpose one, the way that I'm living my purpose and therefore living passionately. Participate in high performance sports. Low key, I think what he meant by that is to kind of like get out of your head and your body, because I've been working out more than ever recently, and I really feel like it has been doing something to my mental health in the best way possible. Like, I really have been working out so much, like so much more than I ever have in my life, and like really focusing on my body and my physical health has just been such a pivotal thing for my mental. It's absolutely crazy. And I want to make a whole podcast talking about my health journey, or even a YouTube video, because it truly has been something that has just really shifted me. So I think in stating high performance sports, probably maybe not like, being a full ass gymnast, but maybe going on a run, going to the gym, taking a dance class, taking a hot yoga class, stuff like that. Meditate, of course. We all know meditation needs to be a part of our lives. And meditation is more than just a breathing technique. Meditation is fully sitting within yourself and not having no thoughts, but observing the thoughts with no judgment and letting them bypass. And instead of judging yourself for the thought, you thank yourself for the thought that's passed through your mind, and then you let it out. For me, the way I do it, what I envision when I meditate is I envision a bridge, and whenever I have a thought, I think of the thought going over the bridge and then disappearing into the abyss of the world, or of, the universe. I think of the thought just bypassing over the bridge and then just crossing it. And, people say meditate, and when you meditate, you have no thoughts. There's no way for us to have no thoughts. Of course, there's some point that we get to where we have no thoughts in meditation, but I feel like that shouldn't be the goal. I think what should be the goal is to observe the thoughts and then let them go. Don't judge them. Do yoga. I do yoga every day. Love it. Best thing I could do for myself. The things that come up when I do yoga is crazy. Like, I think about people and I think about situations that I guess I haven't fully let go of. And when I do yoga, I mentally say, like, I release these situations, because if they come up during practice, I'm pretty sure it's because they're pent up somewhere in my body. So whenever they come up, I choose to release them. So I definitely say do yoga. Taking social risks, I think that to me just means experiment, go out more. And if not even go out more, do things that kind of feel a little uncomfortable, because that way, whenever you face fear, you are facing it with courage, and you're not letting the fear control you and say, like, no, I'm just going to stay in for the night, or, oh no, I'm not going to post that, or, oh no, I don't want to create that, I don't want to be a weirdo or whatever. Like, it's pretty much acknowledging when you take risks, it's easier for your flow state to happen, because the fear isn't in the driver's seat anymore. Be generous. Don't be afraid to give. I know we want to just receive, but giving is one of the most fun parts about being human. I think. I love giving gifts. I love going the extra mile for people. And sometimes when I don't, I regret it. And help others. I feel like that kind of means the same thing. But I want to read the 8 radical steps. Let's see what they are. So I'll read the 8 radical steps, and then we'll move on to the next book. Step 1, know your story to change your story. Step 2, learn to forgive yourself and those motherfuckers who hurt you. Step 3, spray spiritual bleach on the belief systems that kept you stuck. Wake up your inner wisdom. Name your superpower. Believe you're amazing. Use what you have. And last, stay slaying. Period. So that's Spirituality Sassy. First spiritual book I ever read. Loved it so much. And I suggest it to anyone. So honestly, I'm gonna be 100% honest. The next spiritual book that I read that was very pivotal for me was The Four Agreements. And if you've never heard of The Four Agreements, it's a book by same author as The Mastery of Love, Don Miguel Ruiz. And essentially the four agreements are: don't take things personally, be impeccable with your word, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And those four agreements have led me to a path of starting not only a journey from within, but a journey that I can take these spiritual practices and be able to be in this human experience. Because sometimes when we get so intertwined with our spirituality and our inner knowing and our inner being, I'm going to come a little closer. As I was saying, sometimes when I am doing so much internal work, it's so hard to go out to the real world. You know, like when I do my daily practices like gratitude and meditation and breath work and my yoga practice, I get so like enlightened and I feel so free and I feel so relieved with spirit running through me. But when I leave my house or when I leave my room, sometimes real world situations happen, like drivers are crazy, or the coffee shop's super busy, or someone annoys me at the gas station because they're constantly staring at me. So like sometimes there are things that happen in real life. Not saying that the spiritual world isn't real life. It is 100% more real than anything that we could ever begin to imagine. But sometimes it does get to a point where I'm so just here. I'm so high, but not like smoking high or like drugs. It's like I'm high from this like spiritual realm. I'm awakened. And so when I leave, sometimes more than half the time, people aren't that woke. People don't have the same morning routines as me, and people don't have the same practices as me, and people don't do the same things as me. So therefore their vibration and their energy is just different from mine, and I need to remember to not let it lower me. So I also need to remember to be impeccable with my word and not speak the lower vibrations of other things that people are saying. If someone's calling themselves stupid, that's not an invitation for me to call myself stupid, or for me to call them stupid. That's an invitation for you to replace that word with, no, you're doing amazing, or I'm doing amazing, you know, and doing my best by constantly maybe if I can't physically put my all into something, always making sure that I'm putting my best foot forward and making sure that I am always having the right intentions with what I do. And I feel like doing your best means you have the best intentions. Not assuming, because a lot of us assume that if someone is rude to us or if someone is snapping at us or treating us badly, it's an us problem. And I feel like you do have to do some internal self-reflection if someone is telling you like you hurt me or you did this to me or you've been this type of way to me, whatever. Like obviously there's some reflection that needs to be done. But if someone is like yelling at you because you cut them off, or if someone is like sending you a mean comment in your comment section or something, that is not up for assumption that there is something wrong with you. If anything, they need to be the ones to look in the mirror to reflect, why do I feel this right to be able to confront someone about something that they can't change necessarily, or something that they can't really necessarily do about it. So I think not assuming is so big. And to not take things personally, I feel like they coincide. Like, I feel a lot of us deal with situations that we might take personally. Like, if somebody cheats on us, we might take it personally as to what's wrong with me, what's wrong with my body, what's wrong with who I am. Or if a friend no longer wants to be friends with us anymore, be like, what did I do? You know, like, it's obviously worth a conversation and it's worth talking about, but it's also important to remember that we are all each in our own experience, and the decisions that some people make for their experience does not always have to do with you and who you are on a personal level. It's them and their personal level. And so I think it's important for us to remember that we don't need to take things people say or do so personally all the time, because more than half the time they're doing it for themselves. And it could be in a growth spiritual way, or it can be in an egotistical way. And I'm sure there's somewhere in between, but for me there isn't. There's either you're doing things for the right reasons and the right intentions, or you're doing them because your egos are getting in the way. Whatever the case is. I recommend The Four Agreements. That book taught me a lot. I haven't read it in a long time. And I would love to reread it because it changed a lot. Moving on. This book, How to Heal Toxic Thoughts, Simple Tools for Personal Transformation. This is by Sandra Ingerman. Oh, yes. I love when I underline things, because that makes this a lot easier. So this is very similar to kind of Don Miguel's books, but I don't think it's a Toltec tradition kind of book. So essentially, this book is exactly what it says, How to Heal Toxic Thoughts. One thing that I remember from this book that I still use on a daily practice is there's a part of this book where she talks about whenever you are, I don't think she said watching something, but she said, this is how I took it. Whenever you're watching something or you're kind of in an environment that doesn't feel in alignment, maybe you're watching a scary movie and you're just like not a scary movie watcher, in an environment like a DMV, okay, and it's just dull and it's gross and they're like, ew, I'd rather be anywhere else, right? She said, envision yourself inside of a blue egg of energy, an invisible force, your aura, surrounding you. And she called it a blue egg, but I feel like it can be any color that you want it to be. She mentioned to envision a blue egg surrounding you, and you're curating your own energy within this egg, and nothing can come in, and anything that tries to cross paths with you just bounces off your energy egg like a tennis ball. And I think about it kind of like, even when I drive, in order to protect myself while I drive, I envision this blue source of sacred, safe energy surrounding me in my car. That way that I always feel safe and protected whenever I'm in my car. And it's just kind of like a little prayer that I do over my car. It's one thing that I remember getting from this book. It really has stuck with me. But I have some underlined things, so let's do it. A problematic state of consciousness can be drawn out and given force if you are using words that bring you down. Be impeccable with your word. Let's see. Using words to master good. I've been working with the power of words since the early 1990s, and I try to be vigilant about words I use in my workshops with clients. I always ask myself this question: am I planting the seed of hope, love, and inspiration, or am I planting seeds of fear? This doesn't apply only to the ones we say out loud to others. The concept applies to our self-talk. A problematic state of consciousness can be drawn out and given force if you are using words that bring you down. Essentially, the more you talk shit to yourself, the more that you're not going to feel good about yourself, the more that you're letting fear take over you. And honestly, like, the way we speak to ourselves is the way we speak to God, is the way we speak to the universe. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be telling the universe that she ain't shit, okay? Because that's not true. On my desk, I have a post-it note filled with the powerful words that I wish to manifest. Some of my favorite words are joy, awe, splendor. Never heard of that. Splendor, radiance, love, appreciation, light, magic, expansion, gratitude, wonder, and luminance. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. A degree might be, I am love. I am being held in the loving arms of God, Goddess, Buddha, Mary, Jesus, the universe, etc. I have strong boundaries to protect myself from negativity. I am strong. I am whole. Degrees help you make change happen. I feel like change happens once we evaluate how we speak to ourselves and how we speak to others. And I feel like our toxic thoughts obviously come from trauma, but it's also coming from what we ingest and then how we speak to ourselves with what we ingest with. Does that make sense? But yeah, this book just gives you practices and affirmations and kind of just like little droplets of positivity. And this book is quite literally only 107 pages. You could probably read this in a day if you're one of those people. I don't know how long it took me to read, but I'm not one of those people that reads pages in a day or reads books in a day. But if you are, this could be read in one day, and you can really, truly transform and learn so much. So yeah, what do you feed? To check how your day's work has gone, try this exercise. Imagine two beings that can represent your state of consciousness. You might want to imagine two identical blow-up dolls that you pump air into so that they get smaller or grow bigger. Label 1 the energy behind your positive thoughts, attitudes, and emotions and beliefs. Label 1 the energy behind your problematic thoughts, attitudes, emotions, and beliefs. At the end of the day, notice which doll looks plumper and which looks underfed. Which one did you feed more? Just a little practice, a little mental practice. I have a lot of books to get through, so we need to wrap this up. I just read so many books. I want to get into a fun one. I actually read this one recently, but this is Down the Drain by Julia Fox. I cannot even begin to describe the visions and the storytelling, and this was just wrote so beautifully, and it truly helped me look at my life in a sense of I can do this, like I got this, you know what I mean? Because some people like Julia, and there's millions of stories like Julia's, where she's seen rock bottom and she's been in and out of positive and negative situations and horrible abusive relationships and losing friends and all this stuff. Like, she's been through the ringer, okay? And she's still made it out on the other end and still has seen the side of joy, happiness, and success. And, you know, she's still continuing to grow herself and expand herself in so many ways. And it is truly so inspiring. And I just read this, and it was nice reading something that's not necessarily how to develop yourself, because not gonna lie, I don't only read spiritual books. I do read a little fiction every now and again. I love listening to people's stories or reading people's stories, and I love hearing where they started and how they got to where they are. And I love that people feel the excitement to express themselves through writing and being like, you know what, my story is worth telling. And it sure as hell is. I can't imagine the stories people don't write in books. So it just feels so freaking awesome to read a book like this and feel so empowered after, because even though this isn't my life in the slightest, it's really good to know that someone can reach to a point of rock bottom and still make it out happy and successful and alive. And so I recommend this book to literally anyone. I'm finding the right person to give this book to, because I feel like there are some people that I want to give this book to, and then I'm like, I also just don't want to give it away, because I just love it so much. I just love this book. It's so aesthetic. Like, what? Sorry for audio listeners, but watch the video, watch the YouTube video if you want to get a visual. This book, love it so much, and I recommend it to literally anyone. I don't want to say that it hasn't been a pivotal book for my spiritual journey. I feel like that it has, in a sense of like, it's reminded me of my potential and to not be afraid to express my journey. So yeah, I'm definitely going to reread it. Next book I want to talk about is The Iconic Power of Now. And ignore how literally disgusting disgusting this book is. Like, wow, it looks like that I must have like read it in the bath and dropped it in bath water because it is destroyed. But I heard so much about this book, and I would see it in the stores all the time. I would saw it on Pinterest, you know, like those spiritual girlies with their Power of Now book. And I was always still like, like I'm interested, you know, but I never went out of my way to get it. And so I was at a Barnes & Noble and I decided to get it. Loved it, obviously. I mean, duh, I'm bringing it up in here. So let's read the description on the back. I didn't underline anything in this book because what I did with this book is I mostly listened to it on Audible because his voice, Eckhart Tolle's voice, is so soothing, so calming, so amazing. I love hearing him speak. So I did listen to most of this book. And I do want to reread it by reading it, but like his voice was just so amazing. And some of the stuff in here is so profound that I was just like, how is someone so smart? You know, like I think about that with all of these books, just the way that he words things is just so beautifully written, and just I've been obsessed with this book ever since I got it. And his voice is just so amazing. It's wow. To make the journey into the power of now, we will need to leave our analytical mind and its false created self, the ego, behind. From the very first page of this extraordinary book, we move rapidly into a significantly higher altitude where we breathe a lighter air. We become connected to the indestructible essence of our being, the eternal, ever-present one life, beyond the myriad forms of life that are subject to birth and death. Although the journey is challenging, Eckhart Tolle uses a simple language and an easy question and answer format to guide us. So I just found it crazy how profound he was. Like, it does say uses simple language, but like honestly, this language is quite literally out of this world. And I really wish that I underlined some stuff because wow. But something that came into my head while I was just thinking about this book, whenever we are thinking about the past, we're no longer in the present. And that sounds like a duh. Whenever we are avoiding the present moment and not being in it, we are scientifically still trapped in the body of the past. And the more we avoid being present, the less we'll grow. And the more our body just doesn't know what to do with this information. And like, I feel like I understand what that means on a sense of like, the more we avoid being present, the less we'll grow. And then the more it happens to our bodies that we're confused as to why this is happening to our bodies. You know, why do we feel the need to get drunk or, you know, get high in the middle of the day? Or why do we feel the need to numb and change our present moment? It's because we're stuck in the past. We're literally quite physically and mentally stuck in the past. And sometimes we can't avoid it. We're traumatized. Like maybe there was a traumatic situation that happened to you and you're quite literally still in that moment physically, even though the time has passed and you're not in the traumatic situation anymore. Your mind, therefore your body and your energetic state is still in that past. And it's really hard to grow and evolve when you are stuck in the past situations. And of course, if you want to be in a certain place in the future, that's different because that's almost when I feel like manifestation comes into play. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got from this book, is how we're consciously stuck in moments of the past when all we really, even in the past, all we really ever had was the present. And the present is just this eternal, never-ending moment. You know, like the present doesn't just stop, you know? Let's see. I want to find past pain, dissolving the pain body. As long as you are unable to access the power of now, every emotion, every emotional pain that you experience leaves behind a residue of pain that lives on in you. It merges with the pain from the past, which was already there, and becomes lodged in your mind and body. This, of course, includes the pain you suffered as a child, caused by unconsciousness of the world into which you were born. And then he essentially gets into pain bodies, and that's kind of like what I was talking about. Like, our pain body is thinking of our past traumas, and the pain body wants to survive, just like every other entity in existence. It can only survive if it gets you to unconsciously identify with it. It can then rise up, take over, and become you, in quotes, and live through you. It needs to get its quote-unquote food through you. It will feed on any experience that resonates with its own kind of energy. Anything that creates further pain, such as anger, destructiveness, hatred, grief, emotional drama, violence, and even illness. So it's almost like the more that we resonate with our past trauma and pain bodies, the more our present is destructive and anger-filled and violent and just not how we truly want to live at the end of the day. But we decide to resonate with that side of our existence because what we feed, just like in what this book said, what we feed is what grows. And if we decide to feed the pain body, if we decide to feed the emotional body that's stuck in the past, the more that it's going to grow and expand and become our life, and we're going to look at our life and wonder what the fuck happened. But yeah, this book truly, like, I recommend it to anyone, and I don't want someone to just read it and be like, oh yeah, I want to be more present. Like, no, this is a lot deeper than just being present. It goes into why you need to be present and what the past does to you, what thinking about the future does to you, what worrying does to you. And he talks about God, and it's just so, wow, I just turned to a beautiful page. You find God the moment you realize you don't need to seek God. There is no way to salvation. Any condition can be used, but no particular condition is needed. However, there is only one point to access: the now. I'm going to read that again. You find God the moment you realize you don't need to seek God. There is no way to salvation. Any condition can be used, but no particular condition is needed. You can meditate if you need to feel God, but you don't need to meditate to feel God. You can feel God through a flow state, through a conversation, through a good song. So many levels can be felt to feel God. However, there's only one point of access: the now. So it's almost when you're present, you feel God, no matter what you're doing. Yeah, this book obviously changed my life just like every other book I've ever had. Truly, out of any of these books, I would say this is a great book to start with because he hits pretty much everything. And I like the format too. It's like question and answer. So, can we change an addictive relationship into a true one? Yes. Being present and identifying your presence by taking your action even more deeply into the now. Whether you are living alone or with a partner, this remains the key. For love to flourish, the light of your presence needs to be strong enough so that you can no longer get taken over the thinker or the pain body and mistake them for who you are. So yeah, he does like a question answer format, and it's really useful because a lot of these questions are, pretty obvious questions that a lot of us would ask, like, what do you mean to be in the now? Like, what does that mean? It's like questions that us true Gen Z or millennials, whatever, would truly ask, you know what I mean? So I really resonated with this, and I recommend it to anyone. That is the last book of my spiritual book recommendations. I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it was a lot of talking, a lot of yapping, a lot of whatever. I really hope that you enjoyed it regardless. I hope that you got a new book that you want to read out of this. If you want a part 2, let me know. I have a couple other books that I really want to talk about, but honestly, I haven't finished them yet. Like these two, I'm like 10 pages into finishing this, and this I'm like quite literally halfway through. So I haven't even finished this one yet. I haven't finished the Joe Dispenza book yet. And there's a book I'm reading on Audible right now I hadn't finished. I wanted to re-listen to Atomic Habits. So I got some ground to cover. So we'll get back on this update of spiritual books soon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and listening to this podcast. I'm hoping to make more sit-down content. I never really do make videos where I'm just kind of sitting chatting with you guys. Let's carry on this vibe. You would think that after reading all of these books, I would have better words to say, and I just don't. I literally just always say vibe, queen, slay. It's so brain rot. I can't. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys.